Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to be servicing this Ford KA. It's a 2007 and it's a 1.3 litre. So we're going to be changing out the oil and also the oil filter. We're going to be changing out the cabin filter, also known as a pollen filter, spark plugs, and also the air filter as well. So hopefully it's going to be quite straightforward. Now I'm around my brother's house. This is his wife's car. Now we're not mechanics, but we do like to do the work ourselves, and it is relatively straightforward. Now this driveway is on a slope and we haven't got a pit underneath it, so what we're doing is we've just put it on a couple of engineering bricks on both sides just to make the car level, so when the oil drains out it's a bit easier, and just purely for safety. We're not going to be spending much time underneath the car, but we've just got a jack that side and also a jack the other side as well. There. So, but with these, they're engineering bricks, so they're not going to be going anywhere anyway. Now we've had that engine running for about 15 or 20 minutes just to get the oil nice and thin so it flows out easy. So let's get started. I did forget to mention that we have chocked the back wheels. We've got the handbrake on and the car also in gear as well, just to stop any chance of it rolling. Right, so first of all let's release the bonnet, which is just under the steering wheel here. There we go. And now there's a tiny little yellow catch just here. You just slide that over to the left and then it opens up. Put the engine stay up, and we're going to take off the filler cap like that. And now what we need to do is we need to get a tray and we need to get under the car to undo the sump nuts to let all the oil drain away. Okay, so we're now looking underneath the car, and the sump plug that we need to undo is this one here, and we need a 30mm spanner, and as you're looking at the bolt we need to be going anti-clockwise, so remember lefty loosey righty tighty. So let's undo that now, and we've got the tray just underneath it here to catch all the oil, because there seems to be, it's going to start flying out.
But you've got to work fast, otherwise it goes down your arm.
Yeah, and also it's going to kind of spurt out that way, so get the tray, not, there you go, you see, you actually need the tray quite far along because it does come flying out.
To hand.
Yeah, if you've got a cloth to hand then you can just put the bolt straight on that as well. Now normally they have a little copper.
Sometimes these are magnetic, and you can pick up any bits of loose iron and stuff on it.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, this might not even be magnetic, to be honest.
Sure. Right, so we'll let all that drain away. That's going to take a while.
Okay, while we do that, we'll do the rest of the stuff.
So while we're waiting for the oil to drain out, we're now going to do the air filter to save just hanging around. So first of all, we need to remove this top bit from the air filter, and it's just like a push fit. It just lifts up like so, and we need to undo this little Jubilee clip here.
We won't remove it completely, just loosen it.
Yeah, we'll just loosen it.
So we can get the rubber sleeve off.
Right, that should hopefully be loose enough. Okay, so we need to pull out this hose from here. Alright, this bit's quite fiddly, but you need to pinch this. So what's useful is if you pinch this with your right hand and then just get a screwdriver and lever it up from here, because this whole unit will lift up. There you go, you see now? And now it should, the filter should just lift up from the front and out. There we go. Remember that you have to push this back a little bit to give it access to lift out. Now to remove the actual filter inside, we just need to lift up on these side clips here, and then it will release the top. There's 4 of them. And that is the old filter. And now while you've got this, it's a good opportunity to clean out the inside lid of the filter. And now you need to put the 2 halves together, making sure it goes on the correct way round. You can tell that because you can see that these clip on to these little plastic bits here. Now we can put that back in the car. So putting it back in is just a reversal of removing it.
Got to line these up with the things at the back. Can you get in there?
So if you have a look here, you can see that there's 2 prongs and they need to go into the 2 holes in down there.
And then this goes in here. Like so. Just now then. There.
Then we need to do up the Jubilee clip and just push this hose back on there. And now we just need to put this top unit back on here as a push fit, push it down into place, and that is the air filter done. Right, so the oil's dripping away nicely there. I'd say that's nearly done. So we're going to work on the oil filter now, which is in a really awkward place. So it's underneath the car, up here. So we're going to use an oil filter chain to remove this now. So let's get that set up. It's going to be very hard to film because there's hands in the way.
So it works by you turn this in the same direction as you would to remove something, and then we want the filter to go round that way.
Anti-clockwise.
As we're facing it here, yes.
Yeah, okay. So let's get the wrench on there. So you can see now, it's got
mind your camera.
A socket on the end of it. So here we go now. So we're now going to turn the wrench, and it's going to in turn.
And then what you want to do is get yourself out of the way before too much oil comes down.
Yeah.
Right.
So right now it's loose, but we've still got it up there. So we're going to get another container now because oil's going to fly out of this one as well.
Happy?
Yes, that's the other container. Right, okay. Here it comes. There we go, now that's the messiest part. So we're just going to let that drain away now for a few minutes. And now this is easier so you can understand. This is a new filter, we're just showing you how this mechanism works. So you put it on like that, and then you use your normal wrench here, and then as you tighten it up, what happens is this spins round, and then it grips onto the filter and allows you then to undo it, like so. Right, let's get this back in the car now. And now what we're doing is just putting a bit of oil around the rubber seal off the oil filter. Right, okay, so we're going to put the new one in. As you can see, this is where it came off. So with it, we don't need a tool to put it back in, we're just going to put it in hand tighten. And again, remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey, so we're going to be turning it clockwise.
You do need to do it reasonably tight.
Yeah, so if you've got oil all over your gloves, then it's going to slip. So make sure you have nice clean hands or clean gloves.
Sweaty from inside those horrible gloves. That's fine.
Okay, so that's it now. Yeah. Right, now it's time to change over the spark plugs, and they are located here, here, here and here. We've got 4 of them because it's a 4-cylinder car. Now, these ones have come pre-gapped and the gap is correct. So we've looked up the spark plug gap and it's 1.3 millimeters, and if you look here, it says 1.3 millimeters. Now, if you're wondering what that distance is, it's this one here. So if you take this little cardboard cover off, the gap between that part there and that part there should be 1.3 millimeters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you one of them, and then I can just fast forward through the others. Now, do it one at a time, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to take all 4 off and then realise that you can't remember exactly where the leads go, because the firing order will be wrong. So just do it one by one. So we have our removal tool here. We need to pull out the lead from here. So that just pulls out like so. You can see it's got a spring at the end there. Right, now we're going to get the tool and we're going to put it into the hole, and we're going to turn it anti-clockwise, counterclockwise to the left. There we go. Okay, so that's the old one removed, and now we're going to pull it out from there, and now we're going to put the new one in. Right, so unfortunately we can't put this straight into here because of the depth of the hole. So we're going to have to put this into the spark plug removal tool, but just be really careful when you're putting it back in because we don't want to cross thread it. So just do it really gently. Don't put any force on it to begin with. To just kind of do it loosely until it grips itself.
That's it. Right, she's gripped now, so...
Yeah, so you can tell that that's biting, so now we can go in. But if you do that and you feel that you're getting resistance, just undo it and do it again and do it again until it goes in nicely. Right, then when it comes to the end of its travel, just give it a little nip. You don't need to do it too tight. And now pull it out. And remember to put the lead back on, just in case you forget which order they go. And push it down firmly into place. So that is that one done, and now we need to just do the same for the other three. And if you look at your old spark plugs, you can often tell the condition of the engine by looking at them. There should be a nice beigey brown colour. Sometimes they can look a little bit sooted up if your car's in a lot of short journeys because the fuel's very rich. But if they're very black, it might indicate a problem. And I think maybe if they're very clear as well, if it's very white, it might indicate that it's too lean. The mixture might be too lean. The spark plug's all done now, so all we have to do is put the oil sump plug back in, and then we're going to fill it with 4.35 litres of oil. Right, so this is the sump plug that we're going to be put back in now. Often cars have a copper washer. This particular one here is a rubber O-ring. Now I haven't got a replacement one, but this one looks to be intact, but obviously it would be good practice to change it over, because otherwise if it starts to leak you're going to have to drain everything out again in order to replace just this one little part. But that looks okay to me, so we're just going to run with that. Right, so we're just going to pop it back in here now. You can still see there's a few drips coming out, but we've left it for 45 minutes, so near enough all of it will be out. Just giving it a little bit of a clean. And this time we're going to be going in clockwise, turning it to the right. And you need to get your spanner and tighten it up.
Not going mad.
Yeah.
It's an alloy sump.
There we go, so that's just nipped up. Again, you don't need to do it too tight because you don't want to crack the sump. And we need to put this oil now into a container and take it to the local tip. You need to dispose of it properly. Right, this is the oil we're putting in. It's 5W30. Now we're just going to put in 4 litres to begin with, and then take it from the dipstick from there, just in case there's a little bit of oil left in the sump. So we're going to put 4 litres in, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn the engine over just to get all the oil to be going around the new oil filter, and then let it settle for a bit, and then take the reading on the dipstick. If we need to put a little bit more in, we can do. Now, because we're using a massive tub of oil, we are having to decant it into here 1 litre at a time. Right, so this is where we're going to be filling it up. Use a funnel so it doesn't spill everywhere. And now let's pour it in. Right, so that is 4 litres in, so what we're going to do is take the funnel out, we're going to put the filler cap back in, make sure you remember that, and we're going to fire up the car. let it work around the oil filter, let it settle again for 5 to 10 minutes, and then take a reading from them. Obviously take it out of gear before you fire it. Right, so it's been running for a couple of minutes, going to turn it off now, just going to pop it back in gear again. And now while we're waiting for all the oil to get back to the sump, we're going to do the cabin filter. Right, so the cabin filter's housed in here, so we need to undo this one here, so we need to prise out this cover, and this cover, and we need to undo this little screw down here. So to begin with, let's just lift up this rubber strip here halfway, and it's this section here, and it's on the passenger side that we're going to be removing. Remember, this is a UK car. Right, so this whole section now lifts out like that. And what we need to do is we need to undo this screw here. Pop off that little clip there, and you can see that there's a little retaining tab there, so we'll slide all that away. We have two clips here, we're just going to slide them down like that, and then opens up there and gives us access to the old filter. Make a note of which way it goes in.
Fairly mucky.
Right, there's no arrow on here to say which way to put it up, and this is a slightly different filter than the one that came out of it. But we're just doing it so that the writing is readable. And now we're going to close the flap and clip it into place. Right, now annoyingly, you know those two little flaps? Well, they've both broken off because it's just made out of plastic. So you can see that they're not going to last that many times of undoing them and doing them up, so they've just gone brittle and fell off. Now we can still screw it in the middle, so it's not a problem there, but it is now loose on the edges here, so we're going to have to think of a way to try to get the edges to stay down a bit. Right, annoyingly we can't get a cable tie round here because it's just going to slip off the side, so we're not going to be bothered about it, because when this is screwed down you can see it nearly forces down the edges. It comes up about 1 centimetre, so it is possible that a bit of air could be drawn in without going through the filter, but I think it's very unlikely. What you could do if you really wanted to is you could drill a little hole here and a little hole here, and then you could use a self-tapping screw to go into that bit there, so that would probably work. But as I say, we're not going to do it on this one here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put that cover back on here, put the screw through, and then put the cowl on and do up the 3 screws and pop the covers on. So it's just a reversal of how we removed it. We just need to get this rubber strip and we just need to put it back into place again, all the way along. Right, and you just push back into place, like so. Okay, that is the cabin filter done. Now looking in the trusty Haynes manual, it says here that 4.35 litres is including the oil filter, and the difference between the minimum and maximum level on the dipstick is 0.75 of a litre. So let's have a look at the dipstick now. So this is the dipstick here, let's pull it out. We've got a cloth ready to catch the drip at the ends. Remember, wipe it once, and now put it back in, because when we started the engine it would have splattered up a little bit. And now all the way down, back out again, and this is where we need to look. Now if you have a look here, it looks like it's just a tiny, about a millimetre above. So this is the minimum level and the maximum level. Now remember, we put 4 litres in, and the difference between min and max is 0.75. So it says that the car takes 4.35 litres. So I think once we put another 0.35 litres in, it will be just above halfway, which will be fine. So remember not to underfill it, and definitely don't overfill it either. It needs to be in between those 2 notches. So let's add 0.35 of a litre to it.
Go with that, I think.
Right, so that's 0.35 of a litre. Right, so that's all the oil in. We're now going to put the filler cap back in, and we're just going to do a few checks, fill up the windscreen washer fluid, check the water in the car, check the brake fluid, and then by then that should have drained down, and we'll have one more check on the dipstick. Give them this little oil up here just to make sure it stays nice and free. Right, so we're just checking the fluids around the place. So this is the windscreen washer fluid here. You can see that's all been filled up in there. And this here is power steering. Now remember, we are on a slight slope, but if you look at the back here, you can just see the level. If we wobble the car, you can see it moving. This here is the water coolant for the car, and again, if you look there, you have the min and max mark, and you can just about see the level. And over here we have brake fluid. Wobble the car again, you can see it moving here. Right, so the fluids look like they're all full, and it's just good just to give a visual inspection around the place, make sure that there's no hoses leaking, anything like that. Good practice just to put a bit of copper grease on your battery terminals as well. That's a new battery there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check the dipstick level now to see if it's reading halfway. Perfect. If you have a look there now, you can just see halfway between the min and the max. So happy with that, and a relatively easy, straightforward service to do. Now, if you were to take your car to Ford, then obviously they would do more thorough checks on different parts of the car. But in the UK, this car goes for an MOT every year anyway, and that checks the safety features and the important parts of the car to make sure that it's safe to be on the road. So quite happy doing servicing ourselves, because in my opinion it's not really cost effective to take it, for example, to a Ford dealership, because the value of this car is next to nothing. It's probably only worth a couple of £100 more than what the service is actually going to cost you. So remember now, in about a week's time, just to check the dipstick again, make sure you haven't got any leaks or anything, make sure that oil is still sitting halfway through. So that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for more how-to videos. Take care, bye now.